time for a bit of tittle tattle. Will paper talk, paper round. Those articles you used to read when you were younger, and you used to read and think, wow, this is going to happen. This is amazing. I can't believe, my United are going to get Ronaldo this year,
back when you believed what you saw.
It was in your head, it was just like, it had to be true. They legally can't print lies. I'm sure that's the thing, you can't be doing that. But now it's something that actually is true, Will. Well, I don't know if it's happened yet, but it certainly seems true, and I want to believe it's true, is Timo Werner is coming back to these shores. Well, not these shores, but English shores, and more specifically Tottenham Hotspur. Now you might think, like, okay, people will look at this and go, that's a bad signing,
He was just here and it didn't work out.
Like, Tottenham were going okay, a lot of injuries, but it's the striker is not the issue. In fact, Richarlison is starting to go well. He's buried Mikel Antonio on the goal scoring table, and he's catching up on Wilson very quickly. So a striker is surely the last thing you need. That's what you'd imagine. Sensible Tottenham fans would be thinking, and they'd be looking at it thinking, "Oh no, this is just classic us now. This is a bad move. This is a classic bad move." But instead, you go over to X there, and you get a sense of the people. And by the people, I'm fairly sure children, like, who don't remember 3 years ago.
People who were not watching when Werner was around.
They did not watch the 2021-2022 season. Definitely not.
No, definitely not. We watched every second of it.
That
was our first season doing the podcast.
We were locked in, dialed into that season, and we liked Timo Werner. We thought he was quite endearing, but we also thought he wasn't a very good striker. It was like rooting for one of the little guys. Yeah, even though he'd scored like 25 goals in consecutive season for Leipzig in Germany, but he came over to Chelsea and he couldn't finish his dinner. But as we say, Tottenham fans or Tottenham youth on Twitter are pumped for this signing, Will. And I don't know if it's just kind of like, let's just make sure that people think we're okay with this, so it's not a stick to beat us with. But some of the X's on X are just unhinged. Random, but Timo Werner had 16 disallowed goals whilst playing for Chelsea. Werner, hang on. Werner only actually scored 11 goals for the Blues. If he had mastered the time of his run, then he would have been looked at differently with the numbers he could have achieved. There's a lot of like ifs and buts in that sentence. It's hard to even read. If he hadn't mastered time of his run,
fucked it up every time, he would have scored the goals.
If my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. That kind of thing.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense.
They say many garbage things.
You don't know what you're going to get.
Melodrama upon melodrama. This is a total, shameful, disgraceful piece of nonsense.
He was miles off it yesterday.
You'll learn a lot more if you listen rather than talk all the
time. No problem.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a No Nonsense podcast with Cathal and Will. We have taken a little break during what was probably the busiest time of the year for football, Will, I'd say.
Yeah, but it's not, I'm not there yet. I'm not feeling the return yet.
Well, also the Epstein list came out, and we had to make double and triple sure that Callum Hudson-Odoi was not on the list.
Yes, he had to confirm in his Instagram story. I like when he added in the Instagram story, I didn't think I'd have to respond to this, and then in brackets, because I was a child at the time.
I have the exact screenshot here, which I saw this on Reddit first, and I was like, this is mad. But then also, just a side note, it's 5 minutes after he put it up, someone screenshot it. Who was following Callum Hudson-Odoi's Instagram that closely, just in case something like this happens, that they have it screenshotted? But thankfully they did, and I can read out here now. I've seen this circulating around on social media for a while now, and I wasn't going to comment on it as it's absurd, in brackets, and I wouldn't have been a child at the time. However, understanding my position as a role model, I would like to make it absolutely clear that I have never been part of the Epstein scandal, nor have I ever been to Epstein Island. So please stop tagging me in these posts. Thank you. Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Spoken like a. That's exactly what someone who's been to Epstein's Island would say.
You don't back down, Will. You double down.
That's one of my all-time favorite rooms of all the players in the world, of all the rich and powerful.
Callum Hudson-Odoi was at Epstein Island. It's like
he was 6.
I haven't honestly. I didn't hear about this until he posted. I was like, whoa, what is this about? You know. That's obviously when I started my own investigation. Like, well, I got to find out if he was on the island now because he's denied it. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, were people making a joke, like a really bad taste joke, that he was on the island as a child, and he's like, I never touched any children. I was a child at the time. It's like, yeah, that's the joke, that you were a touched up child. Like, maybe that's like a really poor taste joke, and he's even gone over his head. And now he's posting on Instagram saying, I didn't touch any children, even though I was a child myself. I mean, it's very funny. It does tie in with the kind of players being more aware of these kind of things than ever.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, you'd never get someone in the 90s responding to a conspiracy theory.
No, I mean, like, did you ever get, what's your man's name, Richard Gere, ever have to come out publicly and respond to that rumor, you know?
Yeah.
He'd never, like, just, that would, back then it was like, ignore it, pal. Dude, don't. Honestly, if you comment on this, it'll only make it worse, you know? Like, this is one of those things you just don't comment on, because it's obviously not true. There's no truth to it. Like, but the fact that he feels he needs to do it because he can't go on Twitter or X or Instagram, or someone saying, you're on Epstein Island, you know. I think it's the interactive nature of social media. Whereas it was in the paper, it's like, well, I just won't buy the paper again. And I mean, most people don't. Most people don't read the news anyway, so like that's not an issue.
Yeah.
But social media
you can't boycott your own phone. You have to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Then you just got to go. And now you're like outside of society. You're like, I don't have a phone. It's like, why? It's just too tough for me.
People are saying some wild things about me on there.
Yeah. So that's what we were doing for the last 2 weeks. Just combing through those lists, see if we find any other footballers who are on it. A rare dub for footballers, Will, that we weren't involved in this. You know, as a footballers union. You know, we do a lot of other stuff that we can attribute to footballers, but not this stuff. This was high level stuff.
Yeah. This was all the non-football guys.
This was the really high level celebrities.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that what's his name, the old head of FIFA wasn't on it.
Oh, Sepp Blatter.
Yeah, I could see him on the list.
Yeah, I think he loves money more than anything else, you know.
That's it, yeah.
This was people who had their money and were happy enough. Was like, what can I do now? What's crazy enough to do now? You know, whereas I think Sepp Blatter was like, there's always more money, lads. I don't know if you knew that. There's always a way to make more money.
How much do the flights cost? That's it.
But there has been a few different things that happened over the last while that we've been away. When you're only sacked, Will?
The golden boy, future Man United manager, was the talk not too long ago.
Honest to God, I mean, he is. I don't think he's finished in management, although it's not going very well so far. I think
he's made some bad choices.
I mean, Derby was one that was like, well, no one's going to succeed here because it's a mess, you know.
And he did okay.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where like the bar was so low. It was like if he wins a couple of games, like wow, I can't believe he's managed this. I think players weren't getting paid, everything. Like it was just like a complete shit show. So that was like, you know, like Lampard at Chelsea. The first time I was like, well, everyone fails at Chelsea. Lampard, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know, but then as time goes on, and the DC United and now this Birmingham one. I mean, it's
and this Birmingham one as well. Birmingham were doing pretty well.
Yeah, they were sixth.
And then I believe it's Tom Brady and some other associates that took over the club and wanted to play no fear football, whatever the fuck that meant. And so they sacked their manager, brought in Rooney, and they are now languishing at the bottom of the table. It
is quite funny that like Rooney got sacked from DC United, and then Birmingham were like, "Oh, Rooney's available." It's like, no, not as a player, not as like a peak Rooney, as a manager as he is now. People just can't see the difference between like Lampard as a player and as a manager, Rooney as a player as a manager. It's like, get him in. He's like star power. That's what we need. You know, it's like.
It's mad when these clubs, like you would think when you buy a club, when you have that much money, you obviously know what you're doing. You have to. But so many times it's just like, well, that was never going to work out. How did you get to this level of owning a club thinking that was the right move?
Yeah, it's like the Graham Potter's thing. Like, listen, they're billionaires, you know, so they must have some sense, you know. They must have got the money somehow. They must have some brains, you know. But yeah, this kind of move, was it 13 games without a win or something like that? Or
something like that, yeah.
Rooney turned to the old tactic of blaming the players at every turn. I have some of the quotes here, Will.
Excellent. The Gerrard and Lampard school and Roy Keane school of thought.
Yeah. Wayne Rooney pins blame on players following disappointing result for Birmingham City. That was November 4th, 2023. Wayne Rooney questions Birmingham players' pride after unacceptable championship loss to Stoke. That was in the 27th of December. He says
that's a good one.
He said he didn't recognise his players out there. They've been body swapped with aliens, and these crap players out there now. Yeah, it's just, and there's a few more of them as well. That I think there's one where a 17-year-old played really well. And he made a point of in the dressing room saying, "Look at him, he's 17, he played well. This is how he should all be playing." And the kind of thing that really makes people resent everyone in the room, like this is...
Yeah, exactly. Resent, especially the 17-year-old.
Yeah, and the manager, it's just, everyone be like him. Like, that's like just the worst type of thing. So yeah, he's out, he's gone. I don't know where he'll go now. I did see he was in a combination of a collage, I suppose, of player or managers who had a problem with Ronaldo versus managers who loved Ronaldo, and it was Ancelotti, Mourinho, Zidane, and then it was Rooney, Ragnick. Also, Rooney never managed Ronaldo, in case you're wondering.
No, they weren't at the same club in the last 15 years, I think.
He had a problem with Ronaldo as he was a manager, and also like a problem is that, like he said, maybe he could do a bit more defending. He says something very benign, and then he's like, "Fuck Rooney, he's jealous of me because I still have my hair." He said something.
It's because I'm beautiful and he's ugly.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, that's probably a good segue into the documentary that we've been binging over the last week in between Epstein list research. Captains of the World.
Right. Okay.
Once every 4 years, the pursuit of football's grandest prize for its grandest players, what each intends to be his journey of a lifetime.
Pressão. Todos os convocados têm pressão. Pero bueno, sabemos que es un mundial es muy difícil.
Every country has their own stories. Every player has their own narrative.
Yes, the new Netflix series about the last World Cup.
Yeah. Now, initially, I was like, this is a bit soon for this,
Yes.
I mean, it just happened. Surely we all remember the main stories of it.
I thought that initially, and then I will say at the end of it, I thought it again.
Yeah.
There was some stuff I forgot, but a lot of the time I was like, yeah, I know. I've seen this.
Well, I remember all the main upsets and storylines of it, but I remember I was watching it in work, and there was like a game on at 11, there was a game on at 1, and there was a game on at 3. So I got to watch the game at 1, and maybe if it was a quiet day, I might get to watch the one at 3 maybe, but like typically you'd watch one of the 3 games happen that day. So like I didn't see every game, I don't remember every kick of the ball, but like a lot of it was kind of I thought they made stuff look more exciting than it was. I remember a few crap games. I was like, oh, well, this is just it happens at the group stage. But they made it look like it was the most important thing in the world,
The whole documentary is, now I will say, it's some of the best like video package stuff you'll see of games.
Oh, it is well made. Like,
It was like it's like watching a TikTok edit of a game. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a music video after music video, but they're after a while they do all kind of blend together.
Yeah, it's hard to try and differentiate. At the start, I was like, this is great. This is like this is like Champions League Magazine, the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my favorite thing. My favorite show is like it's not actual footage of the game, but it's like kind of artistic footage of the game. That
it's like mad angles from the game that you would never have seen before, which was cool.
A bit of history of the team or whatever, or how they've got this point, kind of things. Like, yeah, this is perfect. But like it did obviously over 6 episodes. Now, I will say I only got 4 episodes done. I was trying to watch it here in different hostels in the communal area, and people kept trying to talk to me and whatnot. I was like, oh my god,
will you ever stop?
I'm trying to watch Messi's revenge. Okay, for Raquelme. He's doing this for Raquelme. Like, Can you see the celebration? It's obvious for everyone. I'm from Ireland. Where are you from? That kind of thing. So I didn't get to see all of it, but the first bit, I will admit this, Will, it's called Captains of the World. I didn't even read the title. It's like, World Cup documentary. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And then
football.
And then I was like, why Thiago Silva? What's this about? Like, he's not the main player. Give me Neymar, give me Neymar. But then, obviously the team was they injured all the captains and then some extra players. It started with Thiago Silva because Brazil number one in the world at the time of the tournaments.
Yes, and I will say they probably started with Thiago Silva because he's far and away the most likable captain in the show, I thought.
Yeah.
He comes across so well.
I think he always has, He's quite likable and he's just one of these like older players who's still going. So it's like, kind of I work hard every day kind of thing. It's like, a lot of people say that, but like it's evidence because he's been doing it for so long, that he is just one of the players who loves the game and he wants to keep playing. And it started with him in Russia, where he nearly died of TB. And I was like, how old is he? Was he playing in the 50s in Russia? Did he play with Lev?
He was in an iron lung.
Him and Lev Yashin had like a real solid partnership there in Russia. I just thought, this is crazy. I'd never heard the story before. And also, I want to look into it, but I didn't have the time. It's like, how did he end up in Russia, first of all? The promising young Brazilian gets shipped to Russia as his first move to Europe. I was like, okay, that seems... surely Spain or Portugal would probably be preferable, but he went to Russia. But yeah, so you got his whole backstory, how he's kind of like, thankful for every day. And that's why he plays so hard and all that stuff. I was expecting more England in it, to be honest. Yeah,
I thought so too. The few bits of England we did get, though, I think is why there wasn't much. They come across very dull compared to some of the other lads. Some of the other team. Now, I think they're so media trained and so conscious of the public in England that like everything is a scandal, everything is a big deal, that they give nothing in any of the interviews. Harry Kane says nothing at all.
Yeah, of course. Like that's the Harry Kane template of responding. He has like a cadence and he has a few words he'll say every time. So maybe they did a lot of interviews with him. I went, okay, this guy's giving us nothing. Whereas like Thiago Silva's like, I only died of TB, Joe. Did you ever hear that story? Oh, I was mad. A big hole in my
I was in Russia at the time.
Yeah.
There was a very a telling quote in the first episode, I thought. So they're going through some of the different... It's footage of some of the players talking in the dressing room, mixed with interviews and stuff, of everyone going in, and what their feelings are.
Yeah.
The French team, the French captain and all that, they're saying, we could win this World Cup. We won the last one. Brazil are saying, this is our year, we're going to win it. Argentina are saying, this is the year, we're going to win it. Kane says, this year, we're going to go far.
Yeah.
Even going in, there's no sense of like, this is it. This is the one for us. You can tell there's a sense of like, oh, Jesus, I don't know if we're ready to go all the way.
Yeah, well, it's been beaten out of them, to be fair. Like, they grew up with the Rooney, Lampard golden generation of managers now, and it was like, they're going to win. This is our year. We're going to do it. And like, remember they used to say stuff like, Rooney was the only world-class player in the England squad, which is just like an insane thing to be saying for no reason. Like, there's no reason to say this kind of thing. And also, it's like you're meant to be a team, not a collection of players. Anyway, they grew up watching this stuff and then watched them fail dramatically and then see the press tear them down. It was like those arrogant footballers thought they were going to win the World Cup. So I just think they're like hesitant now to say it, and especially when everything is recorded. Like the documentary had great access because it was in conjunction with FIFA, so they had all the dressing room access, and it was like, yeah, you got to see the pre-team talks, you got to see halftime talks. It was like you got everything you got to see. So the English players are very aware of that, I think, as you've seen in the Premier League. And it's like, he's not going to say we're going to win the World Cup for that to be thrown back in his face tenfold, or the clip to be memed even worse, Like, I mean, they're very conservative, I think, this English side, despite being very talented. And by rights, if this was like, say the French team, if they had the same players, but they were French, you'd be like, yeah, they could win the World Cup. Why couldn't they? Like some of the best players in the world, But it's because it's England, it's like, oh, don't say it, lads, because it'll only...
don't jinx it, boys.
The risk isn't worth the reward, Thiago Silva was like the first thing. I was like, this is a bit weird. It should show, the Richarlison goal, actually. Do you remember that? And then
which Richarlison himself can't believe.
That was an insight to Richarlison's mentality there. It's like, I was looking at the goals. I can't believe I did that. It's like, can you not? Don't you practice that? They did a bit with Brazil because I guess it was like maybe for it's for an American audience. That was evident by how much of America was in it, and Tyler Adams almost narrating the first couple episodes.
My God, yeah.
That was when I first why are they showing Tyler Adams? What is this? And I was like, oh yeah, captain's the world call. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, wake up there, pal. Yeah, no, it's Carlow. It's like southeast of Ireland. It's a very small place. I'm trying to watch Tyler Adams here. Can you just? I don't know why he's on it, but I'm trying to figure out why he's on it.
Iran are really mad at him.
It's not Iran. It's Iran. I can't believe that made the documentary. That was a great little thing that I'd forgotten about.
I forgot about that, totally.
I was like again, sorry for mispronouncing your name. You've educated me. Thank you very much. It's like, oh man.
We'll get to that press conference because I forgot how amazing the whole thing is.
Yeah. And then after the kind of Brazil they might win it, for the Americans who maybe didn't watch the World Cup. And they thought, yeah, Brazil are good. Pele and all that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I think they won it.
They went then to Messi.
Yes.
And his failure compilation. Fail comp for Messi in the World Cup.
Yeah. It shows clips of Argentina fans at different points of after getting knocked out of tournaments. Some of the quotes from them: he has no passion. He walks on the pitch. He's a fraud. He has no soul.
It's funny, like they show clips from walking on the pitch in 2014. Like,
yeah, it's mad how long he's been
years
doing
ago that he was just like taking plays off, as Americans would say,
Yeah,
and he's still doing that same trick.
There's a great bit as well. So when they cut to the Argentina and Messi stuff, they talk about Maradona. And like how he died in the time since the last World Cup, and this one he's passed away. So Argentina are doing it for him. But there's an amazing shot of it's. I think they're like journalists. It's like a news team.
Yeah.
They're like they're announcing the death of Maradona, and they're literally in tears.
Yeah.
They barely get through it. And your man announces it, and the other journalist goes, "It's just so shocking that he died of cardiac arrest." And he says it like that, and then a smash cut to Maradona in the stands at the last World Cup.
Yeah.
Where his eyes are bulging out of his head and he's screaming clearly out of his mind.
And that everyone knows what preceded that clip as well. The passing over of it, like that's the famous clip of like, oh, this is bad. I
just don't know what happened.
Yeah, we'll never know exactly what happened to that great man. Yeah, I did feel that whole segment was like, it started off with Messi failure. Not as good as Maradona. I was like, now he's dead. So maybe the pressure's off a bit, Messi. Now we can forget Maradona because he was dead. I thought that's what they were kind of framing. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, this is like, this is a man who won the World Cup, and this is a man who hasn't. That's all this is. It wasn't about him being dead or the shadow of Maradona haunting him or that. Although I think Maradona did manage the national team at some point with Messi in it.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he didn't like Tevez very much, Maradona. And he said, my favorite player on the team who's most like me. And I was like, Tevez, obviously. He's like, Mascherano. It's like, and I think the time people were like, oh, he's worried of his legacy. He's worried that Tevez is going to come for his legacy.
Yeah.
So maybe
he's
just
too good.
A bit before Messi, maybe. But that was the first kind of bit there where Messi was like, laying it up. Again, anyone who saw it was like, okay, we kind of know this story. So it wasn't very new information. It wasn't very interesting because I was like, well, I know what's going to happen. I've know all this story. If you've watched football, you know that Messi has failed and failed and failed again. And then he won the Copa America. And I was like, oh, are things changing? So just kind of rehashing the story. For any kind of serious football fan, you can do this stuff. But then, of course, something that we all know as well, but it's also very entertaining every time, is Ronaldo entering that.
Yes.
That
the villain of the show.
The pantomime villain, enter Ronaldo. With just like
he's increasingly smug every time he's on screen.
The first thing he says is like a list of like cliches that are like, clearly I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I can't help myself. It's like, I don't chase records, they chase me. It's like, oh my God. That's like
that doesn't even make sense. What are you talking about?
Records don't.
Players do the records. The records aren't after you.
Records are stagnant. They stay where they are. They don't move. You catch them. You have to catch them.
It didn't help as well, cutting from Ronaldo's entrance as the heel of the show straight to a clip of Piers Morgan licking his feet, basically.
Yeah.
Where he's saying like, how about this? World Cup final, it's you versus Argentina. Messi scored 2, you've scored 2, and then you score the last minute winner. How about that? What are you talking about?
That's so funny because I saw that, I was like, I can't believe this is like a child would say this. I wrote down the exact interaction just so I could get it right. Get to the final, Portugal versus Argentina. You score 2, Messi scores 2. Last minute, you score a third for a hat-trick, winning the World Cup. be honest, is that the dream? Too good, Ronaldo, 100%. I was like, what is this interaction? This is. I forgot this interview happens. Like, this is like a fucking a fanboy putting questions. I just said this like
it doesn't stop as well. It keeps going. They keep coming back to it throughout the show, like throughout the 6 episodes.
I also found it interesting that they had the clip then of Roy Keane, another famous argument between Roy Keane and Carragher, and then Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank laughing in the middle. I was like, how did they get access to that? Because it was a FIFA thing, which they had the rights to the World Cup, but then Sky Sports, like, do they know? Did they give them permission for this? I don't know.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And that's the only one.
Yeah, that's the only, maybe that's like a clip they got somehow, I don't know. But I mean, it showed, the whole thing of falling out with Man United and that he was scoring all these goals, but Man United didn't like him. And it was like, this is just, I was watching this, like, I'm done with documentaries, man. This is...
yeah, it's such bollocks. Like,
it's just ruined
They
it
just
for me.
totally ignore the 6-month period where you refused to come on as a sub, or he'd leave early, or he wasn't scoring goals. No mention of that.
Yeah, they said last year, the previous year to this year, he scored 24 goals, and people still complained, And then this year, they just didn't like you. It's like, well, what happened this year, I mean, that was the year that he'd scored those goals in Champions League and was getting through Champions League. But I mean, at the same stage, I was just like watching this. I was like, I just missed the days where I didn't know anything. And I could watch a documentary wide-eyed and just think, wow, that's an amazing story.
It does make you question everything. Like, say, remember the Michael Jordan documentary?
Yeah.
I'd say half of that is bollocks.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest one was watching the David Beckham documentary. Like, this is bollocks. Like, this is absolute.
Yeah.
Like when Zidane said, come to Madrid. And then when he did come to Madrid, he had that line where they stole Makelele and said, why would you sell the engine for a new strip of gold paint? Which was David Beckham's like, but when you were on the pitch and you asked him to come?
Yeah.
Like, it's all bollocks, But so you watch these documentaries, like, okay, well, like, I can enjoy bits, but the cynical nature that's growing in me is like, oh, well, I don't know, that's true. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true. Maybe that's how that happened. I don't know. But yeah, he definitely cast himself as the pantomime villain. I did think that Piers Morgan thing was like, interesting because it did kind of foreshadow the actual final.
Yes.
Except it was Mbappé who scored 3 goals and Messi scored 2. And Ronaldo was nowhere to be seen. I was like, this is kind of the end, isn't it? This is, despite what your ego and even the Louis Vuitton picture at the start where they're playing chess on the trophy case. It's like, he thought he was still in with a shout, but like,
there's an amazing shot where it shows Ronaldo scoring early in the group stages. His only goal he scored. And it shows him doing the scene, celebrating. And then the camera pans just to the left of Ronaldo celebrating. And there's a huge mural of Messi smiling, looking at him.
Yeah.
Excellent shot.
Again, I remember that at the time, there was a screenshot all over X. Like, this is kind of the worst thing with like social media is like we all have the same, like we've all seen that reference before.
Yeah,
like, I mean, when it happens in a documentary, they'll be like, that's a great shot. This is going to be the advertising for the documentary. But it happened a year ago. Everyone already did that thing. But it was good because like the first game is Ronaldo scoring his only goal. We wouldn't know at the time, but his only goal in that World Cup make him the 5th ever scorer in the World Cup. You can almost see in his face. It was like, I've done it now. That's a record he'll never do. And like, he obviously we know now that he wouldn't score again in the World Cup, and that was probably his last goal ever scored in the World Cup. But he was the first player to score in 5 World Cups. Is that what that is?
That's what it was, yeah. And it's contrasted by, it shows the first Argentina group stage game where they famously lost to Saudi Arabia. There's a great quote at halftime from the Saudi Arabian manager.
Javi Renard, what a man. God, he's such a man, isn't he?
He's freaking out in the dressing room. And he's saying, he's walking out there. Just take out your phone and get a picture with him if you want.
He's spinning the ball in his finger. Just take it. Yeah. Again, that kind of access is like amazing that like you're a manager in the middle of a World Cup and then you have to remember there's a camera recording everything you say, tracking your movements across the dressing room. It's like, how can you be normal? But I mean, I guess that's just part of the job these days. During that Ronaldo clip as well, he's coming off the pitch and he's going to he stops to rewatch his penalty.
Yeah,
and I see that was like a candid moment. Or it's like, how many times do you think he's watched his goals back? Do you know what I mean? But like, it's just like
he doesn't just watch the penalty. He watches the penalty and then he's like, oh, like he makes a face like, oh, what a penalty.
And like, that's not for the camera. That's just who he is. Like that.
He didn't know that camera's on him. Yeah,
it's so individualistic. Like they didn't have to do much work, but they definitely set up like this guy's out for himself. He wants to break records and score. And then it shows his press conference afterwards, where he's talking about checkmating Messi.
I don't remember this.
No,
this is mental.
Yeah, hopefully a lot of people get checkmated in life. People get checkmated. Hopefully I can checkmate him. It's like he's never played chess his life. He's never.
Well, yeah, that's insane that he's like smugly in the press conference after scoring was like, yeah, I'm going to beat Messi.
I hope I can finish that guy's career, bury him in the dirt, That's just my goal, personally. Oh, also Portugal to win games, I guess, Like, again, they didn't do much work, but they definitely set up as like, this guy is the villain. He's out for himself. He's trying to kill Messi and score goals. And Messi is like, oh, God, everyone hates me. I just want to win for Argentina because, I've let them down so much. They did the combination of him saying, yeah, I'm retiring this time for sure. This is really tough.
Yeah. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, this time for real? I'm retiring. Okay, that was one of the worst losses of my entire life. Okay, that was nothing like Barcelona. That was terrible. I'm leaving this whole thing. So they really set it up like that, and then of course it goes on to Team USA that they need to have a mention in it, and Joe Biden ringing the dressing room.
How did they get that shot of Joe Biden? It's in the Oval Office, and the camera's looking directly at him on the phone to the US national team. He says, "Hey, coach, put me in. Let's go shock them all."
Which honestly, anytime Joe Biden is doing something cant like that, it's like that's the AI voice. Yeah. That's all I can think of. It's like, "Hey, coach, I said put me in. I'm going to kick the shit out of Messi."
It's amazing. It's all of the America sections. Like they just can't help themselves. It's literally like every soccer movie you've ever seen, the quotes. It cuts to a fan who's like got the flag on his face. And he says, "We're in with a real shout. We've got a team with a lot of confidence, youth, and agility."
In goal, LeBron James. You're not getting the ball past him. It's like it's that kind of delusion that they have. But it's like they had one. There's a funny clip. They did Alexi Lala very dirty in that, where they're like, yeah, I guess in the past we had like kind of mediocre players. Hard cut to Alexi Lala in 1994 World Cup. Like, he was like a pundit, and like he's like trying to promote the game as much as he can. It's like we had like bad players, bam, cut to him. It's like, oh, I pioneered the game in this country, and now you're just going to throw him on the bus because we have Pulisic.
Yeah. It's interesting as well that even Tyler Adams calls it soccer. He always calls it soccer when he's talking about it.
Yeah,
I would have thought I know like the casual fan would, but I thought if you're like a footballer in America, surely you would know and call it football just out of habit even. Like who does Tyler Adams play for? Leeds?
Yeah, it was Leeds, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like, and he still calls it soccer.
Well, maybe when you go do the documentary with, I'm assuming, all the American production team, and you're talking,
that's
and
true.
You fall back into the kind of the old ways. Maybe he said football a couple times. They cut that out and they only put in the soccer bits.
That's true. Yeah, that he's coming across too knowledgeable.
Yeah, I know.
Use the one where he says soccer.
Yeah, and then it goes to hyping up Wales as this like amazing, great team, and really hyping up Gareth Bale. Which a great little bit where they like cut out the interview's question and just go straight to his answer. And he's like, I wouldn't say I neglected my club teams, but I definitely love Wales. Straight after the clips of him win the Champions League and the bicycle kicks, like I wouldn't say that. Now I wouldn't say I neglected Real Madrid. I might have put on a big flag that said Wales, golf, Madrid in that order, but I wouldn't say I neglected them. I may have put amateur golf ahead of it, but I wouldn't say I neglected it.
There is just an insane scene where it shows actor Michael Sheen,
yes,
who's giving a dramatic monologue to all the Welsh team before the tournament about how a red storm is coming and feel that breath on your neck. That is a nation behind you and all this. It is ridiculously over the top.
A song of defiance, a victory song. It floats through the valleys like a red mist. It rolls over the mountaintops like crimson thunder. A storm, a red storm is coming to the gates of Qatar.
That was made for Netflix. Like that was like we need.
Surely. No, they edited really well, like with the music and all. When they're coming out for their first game, you're like, whoa, this is amazing. But I'd say being in that room, I'd say there was plenty of people like, this is cringe.
I think it's one of those. I've been in those situations before where someone comes in and talk to the team, and it's like, if you're not up for it. If you're not willing to let yourself go with the process of like, okay, let's get fucking cheat up for this. Let's listen. And like, cause some people are great speakers and orators, and it's like, and they can say something, if they have something prepared and it's inspirational, it can like get you cheat up. But if you're going, what's this guy wearing? Jeans. Like,
yeah.
And then he's like, he's fucking never played the game. Like you can like, they can tear it down, like pick it away. But if you're like, all right, let's fucking go, Michael Sheen. Like let's do something for me here.
Let's lock in.
It was a great speech, and like, okay, didn't have like the cuts, the shots that we had. But like, if you are in that room and someone's like just confidently speaking like that to you, it can get some to you. But if you don't want to hear, like we were just watching, like, all right, I'm not Welsh, what's going on here?
Yeah. Who the hell is Michael Sheen? I thought. Never seen this man in my life.
Yeah, he's kind of a football actor because he did the Damned United. He played your man.
Oh yes,
Brian Clough in the Damned United. So I was like, he's kind of a football-y actor he likes football. We can glean that much. But yeah, when he started rubbing his face, like, okay, come on, let's go.
That would have lost me immediately if I was in the room.
Yeah, again, it's like if you were before a World Cup, it might be different. I feel like if you're in a different setup, and you're like really locked
if he was
in
the dressing room before the game. But it's like they obviously have to fly over there.
No, that was in like a shed. I remember it wasn't in the FIFA dressing room. This was just like in their training.
No, that's
complex.
what I'm saying. If he had have done it in the dressing room,
I think that would be I think before in the game for the dressing rooms, like this is players management only. Why is actor Michael Sheen coming in here now to talk?
Okay, I'm going to leave you with a little something. Here we go.
Yeah, come on, Michael, wake up. I think like there's a time and a place for the inspirational speech from an actor. Who's a big fan of the game. I think that was the time for it. But certainly watching it from afar was a bit strange. Yeah, that was kind of it then.
That's episode 1.
Episode 1, because like USA against it all. Like again, it was like Iran or Iran, whatever to say, and their whole like the protests, the marches, and all that kind of stuff. And then there was Wales, the great Wales, and Bale, Michael Sheen. They've got them all, And then USA, we've got great players. And like England to be up too, but Harry Kane doesn't have anything interesting to say, so we don't actually put him in there at all.
It's funny because it's like the documentary kind of reminded me of, when you're like writing a banner and you do the first few letters too big and then you have to squeeze in the small letters.
Yes,
that's great
analogy.
The first episode they go through game by game. There's only 2 games in the first episode, and they go through every minute detail of the game. And then as the show goes on, they start just flying by games, and then Germany lost to Japan, and that's all you hear of it.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Germany thing is they did an all or nothing for Amazon for the World Cup.
Yes,
so they weren't in it at all because they didn't obviously give them access. Amazon already bought the dressing room rights from FIFA or whatever the fuck. So Germany, there was no Neuer interviews. They had that whole thing with the covering the mouth. Yeah, not in it at all because. Again, I'd say FIFA.
According to this documentary, Denmark are the only country who protested or cared that it was on a Qatar at all.
Yeah, and the way they framed Denmark was that look, they protested, and then none of their wives came, and things didn't go too well for Denmark. I wonder what they would have done differently if they get to it again. Like they just paint this narrative of they kind of fucked up the preparation, and they went out in the group stages. Very unlucky for them. Not that they were in a group with team of the tournament Morocco and France.
Yeah, and it's funny. They frame the captain. What's his name? Carr.
It's Sebastian Carr. Yeah,
Carr. They frame him as like someone who is sick of having to always be answering for politics and standing up for rights and stuff.
Yeah,
but like very much, it was the Denmark FA that was doing it, obviously. But they frame it as in like, the Denmark FA really left them hanging by protesting this World Cup, this beautiful World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah, although, and they definitely did that as well. It was like, they showed him, I think he said it once, like, I'm a footballer, I don't really know what to say. They're probably like diving deep into, so in terms of like the work relation and unions, where would you go next? Like, listen, man, I don't fucking know about that shit. I'm just saying it's objectively wrong, But they used that one clip, I think in a in a montage, not actually in the interview. And he was like, yeah, no, I'd rather my family be here. I was like, yep, got it. That's all we need to know.
Got it?
Yeah, you would rather things be different. I get you, you know. And then we're like,
me too, bud.
And it would cut back to him, like his family in their Milan penthouse apartment with all their beautiful blonde-haired wives and children. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this guy cares about people, you know. Like it was one of those things. Like, man, I wish I'd been a footballer, you know. Like,
yeah,
that beautiful apartment and family, and like just ever gathering around drinking wine, you know. But
his son is just hammering a ball off of like a marble kitchen counter. No problem, son.
Yeah, they definitely paint him as like this kind of like rich guy who lives in different countries. Like, oh, he cares about the workers in Qatar. This guy, apparently, you know.
Yeah. They also weirdly, so this is in episode 2 also.
Yeah.
Episode 2 opens with the Denmark boys. They also talk about Eriksson, the incident from the Euros. And shockingly,
yes,
they show an awful lot of it again.
They blurred his face, which was okay, I guess.
Blur his face, didn't blur his body. It's like, all right, don't show his lifeless face, but his body is fine. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Because like, I think everyone knows that story. I don't think you needed to show the footage again.
Again, for Americans, man, they probably even know Argentina won it.
That's true.
They thought Brazil might win it by episode 1. Thought maybe Thiago Silva is going to avenge his lung. You know, he's going to go on and win this thing.
I like the idea of every single time they show a new team, Americans are like, "This is the guys. These are going to win it."
Look how handsome he is. Look at that beautiful blonde
Maybe it's
wife.
Senegal's year.
Senegal. I forgot about Senegal. Koulibaly.
Yeah, legend.
Why was he dressed as Michael Jordan in The Last Dance?
In the same chair.
He looked like in the same set.
Yeah.
Or the same blue t-shirt and jeans combo in a cream chair, leaning forward saying, yeah, this is personal for us because the guy died. Yeah, again, like that wasn't the story of the tournament, but I guess the Koulibaly was interesting, and they had the whole 2002 versus France, and El Hadji Diouf was there, desperately trying to force himself into the camera shot, coming on the pitch and being El Hadji Diouf. He had number 19 written on the captain armband, that kind of stuff. So it was like there's a story behind that. So I guess Netflix kind of found the story about different players and different teams, but like that they didn't really feature in the World Cup as a challenger at any point. You know, they lost Mane before the tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So exactly. Like before even the tournament started, it was like, yeah, they're done. Like whatever chance they had of making an upset, like it's not going to happen.
This is where they really start flying through the group stages, like we mentioned, where it's just like 6 games will go by. It'll show you a goal from each and the scores, and obviously it's a lot of like music videos and packages the whole way through of the games.
Yeah,
a lot of Peter Drury, to the point where it was getting diminishing returns on Drury. After a while, I was like, okay, I get it. I've heard the poetic stuff. After a while, to me, it was like the sound of a fridge, where it's just like after a while you can't even hear it anymore. It's just not, it doesn't register as anything. The words mean nothing.
You're like hopping off these what's it called? Analogies. Have you been reading Hemingway again, Will?
I've been listening to 6 hours of Peter Drury.
It's perfect, man. It's perfect because I think, to be fair to Peter Drury, he doesn't do it like at every instance. He does it for like big things, like a World Cup game when someone goes out. When you play them back to back, it's like, oh my god, shut up,
shut up.
But yeah, at the time, like we were like, this guy's great. That's why we got the Sky job, because we're so good in the World Cup. But like, yeah, they put it to a way where it's like, I'm sick of this guy already. You know, 1 year in, I'm sick of this guy. But no, it was. Yeah, they sped through the Japan thing. They didn't really cover. I mean, they did a bit with the Southampton.
Once they get to the knockouts, they covered them.
Yeah, but like during the group stages when they beat Spain and they beat Germany, it was like, you know, okay, Germany they skipped by for reasons of a different documentary, and also they didn't want to show them protesting. Protesting the guitar. I'm very sure, if my memory serves me correctly, that Australia released a video before the World Cup as well.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
About the Qatar World Cup and the workers. No mention of that.
Yeah, no mention of Australia.
No interviews with them either. All right, again, they didn't set the group alight, but they did manage to beat Denmark in the end, and not a single interview as to like what they were going to do, you know, or how they were planning for that. Like the whole Denmark thing was like, Denmark were like a team with a striker in Martin Braithwaite who couldn't score. That was their biggest issue. And then they lost Sebastian Kerr at the start. So, lose centre back, no striker. overall like a decent team, but not that very good team. And Morocco,
and you're in the hardest group as well.
Yeah, Morocco were a very good team. Tunisia weren't up to much, I don't think. But I mean, France were obviously, very, very good. I think France lost Tunisia in the last game, famously.
Yes. Well, speaking of France, the hero of the documentary enters now, Mbappé, who is framed as the coolest footballer on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Everything he does, he's like a god. He just comes across so fucking cool in the whole show.
He's FIFA's guy.
He's FIFA's guy, exactly. But he doesn't even give any interviews because he's not captain.
Yeah.
But whenever you see the French players talking in the dressing room, it's him.
Yeah. He was like the de facto leader of the group.
Yeah.
Never mind Lloris. No one's listening to him. Listen to Mbappé.
It shows Klopp, Maradona, Henry, and Zidane, and
Mourinho as
all
well.
saying, and Mourinho, all saying they love him in different ways. Some of them literally, like I think Klopp and Zidane are literally back to back going, "I love him, I love him."
Now I was like, is that about him? Do we know that's about him? Again, it's documentary.
Why would Klopp be saying that?
He could be saying about anybody, But yeah, they certainly made out to be like, this guy is the number one. This is the guy who's coming,
It shows clips of him ripping Denmark apart with a song about him playing in the background.
Yeah,
and it's just like, this guy is. You know what I was thinking watching it? This is aura.
Yeah, they definitely created, real or otherwise, an aura around Kylian Mbappé in this documentary. Again, foreshadowing to anyone who hadn't seen the World Cup, like,
exactly.
Oh, I bet this guy's going to go far. Just you wait for episode 6. They did a little bit on Spain then as well. Which again, if you had a passing interest in football, you're like, I think Spain are good. Maybe they'll do well this year. And honestly, just a hilarious little bit on Spain where they talk at length about penalties. And then,
real foreshadowing.
And then go on to miss all 3 penalties in the shootout. There's like Torres, Koke, and Busquets talking about, if I take the last one, then there's pressure on you to score. Whereas you have to take the one to draw, there's a lot of pressure. And cut to them. Oh, another miss by Spain. 3 missed penalties in a row.
Comparing. They're like arguing nearly over what is the highest pressure penalty to take. And the consensus they seem to be coming to is they're all a nightmare to take.
I'd rather not take any of them,
And then it cuts to, who did they lose? Was it Morocco they lost the penalty shootout to? But whatever team they lost to, it cuts to them talking about penalties and just being like, yeah, this is what we want. We do penalties all day, every day.
Yeah, and he said, it goes to Luis Enrique, it's like, I told them all, take 1,000 penalties before the World Cup.
That sounds to me like something you would tell them, but you're not going to check up on it.
What number on now? 806, is it?
If someone told me to do 1,000 of anything, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll definitely do that, man.
I've probably taken 1,000 penalties in my life, so I guess I already have it done, Yeah, I think it was it Morocco they lost her? I know Japan had a good, Yoshida had a good bit in the knockout stages. They got through that group, like I say, with Spain. Spain went to top and they went, that's what it was. Spain were top and Japan were second, and because Spain were on top, they got to face Morocco, which was like the soft touch. But unfortunately for Spain, they just kept passing the ball sideways and sideways for 90 minutes, and it went to penalties.
Yeah.
Like, I watched those Spain games, I'm pretty sure, and they were dire games, dire affairs.
So bad.
And like the documentary made it look like Morocco had this like amazing defensive performance. Like, Spain couldn't fucking get the ball into the goal. And then it goes to penalties. They hadn't kicked the ball in the goal from the penalty spot. So even if they got someone there, they couldn't kick it in. It was just
it's so at episode 3 it starts with the group stage with Japan, Costa Rica, Germany, and Spain. The mad final day when they were playing at the same time.
Yeah,
the top 2 kept changing like over and over and over. And eventually it leads to Japan and Spain go through, like we said.
Yeah, it was Japan, then it went out on penalties to Croatia.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It was that Japan missed a couple penalties and Croatia had that bit with the goalie, and Modric was like the captain's arm around the goalie and all that.
I have the quotes from, I have Modric's quotes from, what's his name? Livakovic, is that his name? So I don't know how they got this footage also, because it's in like a hotel lobby. And it's literally looking over the keeper's shoulders at Modric.
Actually. That was like, how did they get there?
How are they mic'd?
Drones? Was it a drone thing? An AI drone, perhaps?
So this is such a crazy thing to see. So it's Modric, so obviously the Croatian captain, sitting down the keeper Livakovic, who was under some criticism at the time.
Yeah.
And Modric was backing him publicly. And then he said, this is what he said to them in the hotel lobby. He said, "I don't see you making progress. Maybe it's the pressure on you. You're radiating uncertainty. You make us uncertain. You're a great keeper. Do you know that?"
Yeah. And it's true. When your keeper's like nervous, it makes everyone else nervous. Like if this goes behind us, it's going in, and so we can't make a mistake. We can't trust the goalkeeper. But yeah, it seemed like that turned his whole career around in that one conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then he's like, everything you see from then on is him saving penalty after penalty after penalty.
Yeah, making great saves. South Korea versus Brazil then, was it?
First it goes to our boys, the real heroes of the documentary, the US of A.
Oh yeah, of
as
course.
they approach their game against Iran.
Iran, yeah.
And it cuts to the infamous Tyler Adams press conference. We might play the clip.
First of all, you say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. Please, once and for all, let's get this clear. Second of all, are you okay to be representing a country that has so much discrimination against black people in its own borders?
My apologies on the mispronunciation of your country. That being said, there's discrimination everywhere you go. One thing that I've learned, especially from living abroad in the past years and having to fit in different cultures and kind of assimilate into different cultures, is that in the U.S. we're continuing to make progress every single day. Growing up for me, I grew up in a white family with obviously an African American heritage and background as well. So I had a little bit of different cultures, and I was very very easily able to assimilate in different cultures. So
I put it to you, Tyler. How do you feel about playing for the United States, where they hate black people?
Oh boy. Yeah, like.
He handles it very well, but it is so funny. It's so blatantly just like, all right, whoever's up here is getting it.
Yeah, I think you will look back at this as like, during the 2020s, how crazy the world had gone, that like it just seeped into like there's issues in every part of the globe. It was so public that like sport just couldn't avoid these kind of things. Questions that players never asked before or since, but like, so do you hate black people because you're playing for a country that hates black people, Tyler Adams?
No, it's about
well, it's actually raised white is like what he said, which is okay. You got me there, Tyler Adams. Touche.
Did not know that.
Well, it's still Iran, not Iran, so I got you there.
It shows all of the Iranian protests. They do show a lot of the protests and the players refusing to sing the national anthem.
Yeah,
they don't really come back to what actually happened to those players. Just like there was real consequences, threats of life sentences, death sentence, and then it just cuts to the US locker room.
Yeah,
where the coach is saying 26 brothers doing whatever it takes, and I'm nearly positive the US national anthem was playing in the locker room.
Really?
In the background, quietly, you can hear it. I don't know if that's like the editors, like that was just the music for that bit, but it sounds like he turned on the national anthem and then gave this speech to them.
That would make sense.
Which is amazing.
I think that's something he would do. I think that would make sense.
That tracks.
Yeah, that tracks what they would do. Hard to imagine that was our team of the tournaments that we were banding on them.
There's an amazing contrast then a few minutes later where so that's what the US coach is doing. And then we get a glimpse of the Australian coach as they're playing Argentina.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught this. The only quote we hear from the Australian coach, he walks into the dressing room and he says, "Come on, you cunts."
Yeah, no, they were.
It's the world's game.
It is different approaches everywhere you look. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like if it was Archie who made the documentary and Ireland were in it, like we'd be.
I was thinking
heavily,
that. Oh, yeah.
Like to be fair, like look, it's Netflix, it's an American show, it's for an American audience. That's where they're gonna make the money of it. They're gonna have America in it. You have to just accept that from the start. That like it. Yeah, they weren't big players in it, but any country does it, and their own country's in it. And that's what they're going to sell us. That's what people want to see. You want to see, what about Ireland in it, But yeah, it was funny because there's such like kind of non-events in it, really. I mean, I know they got out of the group and they play. Who did they play in the knockouts? Netherlands. Yeah, and they
Netherlands,
lost
yes.
like 3-1 to them. And it was like, yeah.
Which I don't think that's even in the documentary.
No, because it's like, you know, it wasn't even that big a thing. I don't think anybody's probably that surprised or distraught or like. I think that what they said was like our goal was to get the last 16. Was that what they said? The USA?
Yeah.
So like they achieved all their goals and went home. You know, they're just lucky that we don't let black people play this game, because if we did, you know, I wish they'd done that. I was looking forward to like a cut of TikTokers doing their like midfield, Jimmy Butler, you know, like
because they do that a bit where they cut to like what social media was saying about those moments.
Yeah,
which is funny because they're all so like generic and NPC ones, kind of.
Yeah,
like wow, what a goal! Not the real football Twitter.
yeah.
3/4 of the way through episode 3, it goes to the next game is Brazil versus Korea. Yeah, just as Pele is on his deathbed.
That again, they kind of did like the spirit of Pele as he was passing up to heaven, stopped off in Qatar and infused himself with Richarlison and the boys.
Thiago Silva says, he's crying as he says this in the interview. He said his dream was to take a picture with Pele.
Yeah, him and Richarlison.
Has that not happened?
Surely.
Did that not?
Surely they've met. He's been captain of Brazil for a while now. Surely.
Maybe he means like with the World Cup.
Oh, yeah. Again, maybe lost pronunciation, you know.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, you could have gotten that, man. Definitely.
That, again, was Brazil's best game of the tournament. That was the Yoga Bonito. That was, like, the two centre-backs combined to assist Richarlison for the goal. Again, no one ever gives Alisson his flowers in that game, that he made 6 or 7 world-class saves that kept him in the game.
It's funny as well because the Brazil, after each goal, I think they win 4-1.
Yeah.
And after each goal, the celebrations get more and more obnoxious.
Yeah.
They are feeling it.
Yeah. I guess it's like, it's a Brazil thing. It's there's a little bit where it's like, it's not obnoxious because it's like they don't see it as like,
yeah, that's just what they do.
They're not doing it like kind of a Man United way of like, everyone hates us, we don't care.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, what's wrong with this, lads? This is just like what you do when you score a goal. It's like, well,
yeah, we do a little dance.
In our culture, it's different, you know. So,
yeah, seeing the head coach of the other team doing the Richarlison like pigeon dance, that would fucking send you wrong.
Yeah. No, again, where we come from, Will, that's a clear sign of disrespect. You know, you're mocking us with dance. Where I think, whereas in Brazil, it's like, this is what you do when you win, you know?
Yeah. It's funny as well. I don't know if you cop this. There's a few times where you see Anthony in the documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Do anything.
In the background,
But I just thought it was so mad seeing him play for Brazil at the World Cup. I was just, based on the season he's having now and like the overall thoughts about Anthony, it's mad that he starts for Brazil. I don't know if he still does, but it's crazy that he was starting for Brazil in the World Cup.
I think he was starting. I think it was him on one side. No, I think it was Vinicius Jr. on one side anyways. And then it was...
And Rodrigo on the other, maybe?
I think it was Rodrigo on the other side. And then you had Neymar behind Richarlison.
Yeah.
Like it was him... Like attacking players, like on paper, they had like Anthony, who you said was grand. They had Martinelli, who, again, this year's kind of fallen off a little bit. But like, you know, they had a good team. But it's just, I don't know, I saw someone say this. It's actually, to be honest, I was looking up England versus Brazil in 2002 World Cup. And someone in a YouTube comment said, this is why Brazil haven't won the World Cup since 2002. Because like, there's no structure to this game. It's all just like individual brilliance. And England don't have much structure in their team either. Like, it's just like, who has the best players? And let's see how we go out. Like, the players had in that pitch were unbelievable. But like, they came up against like a really well-structured Croatia team and went out.
Yeah.
And it was like, player for player, I don't think many the Croatian players would make that Brazil team. But, you know, they weren't coached the same way. There wasn't the kind of an organization that I might say that's like the killing the game and the kind of the boring game that we see now. But like, that is probably why they haven't won the World Cup since then. Because they haven't had good players in the intervening years. But like, you know, they went out against South Korea, and I maintain this till the day I die that they could have lost that game if it wasn't for Alisson in goal.
Yeah,
because they were, you know, they weren't.
This was a South Korea with Son as well. He's barely in the documentary. He doesn't have an interview or anything, but he had the broken orbital bone.
Yeah, he was injured before the tournament, and it was like, will he play? Will he not? You know, and they were kind of struggling for that.
Last season, he was quietly having a hernia issue as well.
Yeah,
it was terrible, and he said that at the start of this season that was what was going on. So like, they're against a poor South Korean team. And of course they pummeled them.
but that's it. I poor enough South Korea team, like player by player, but because they were organised, they got to one step. They got the same position as Brazil, which Brazil had all these great players on the pitch, on the bench, loads of experienced youth, and like they went out to Croatia because they couldn't break down a defense, with all those great players. So. Like that, even like they showed in the documentary, the Neymar goal, which I kind of forgotten about. It was a crazy goal. Like,
it's insane.
There's no sense to that. It was just like this is a player doing what he did since he was 10 years old. You know what I mean? And scored a goal that
got
way.
the ball and went for it. I'm going to run by all these lads,
and this is it.
No one else needs to be on the pitch here.
Yeah. So I mean, it is funny to see all those players on the bench and then to realize that they didn't really make a mark on the tournament at all. Bar that one game in South Korea where they all dance, but like. I don't know what they need, but I think they need something to organize this insane talent they have right now.
Yeah, so that is the end of episode 3. Episode 4 then has a great title. I don't know if you saw that. It's called The Harder They Fall.
Yeah,
and this is the Ronaldo episode.
Yes. As we mentioned, he scored that one penalty in the first game, and again, it's documentary, so I don't see it. It's like you wouldn't study for a history test based on a World War II documentary, because you'd miss out on key things. They just tell like key stories. But, like the intervening 2 games of group stages, Ronaldo was like not looking great.
A ghost.
It wasn't like he was getting the ball, but like they were surrounding him and they were like getting him out of the game. Whereas before they've always done that, but like he would find a way to, get past the double marking and he'd still score a goal or still score like a ridiculous header. And you go, okay, well now we have to mark him on the headers. He just wasn't getting that break the ball, whatever it was. And of course, it's like the whole thing of Man United, which wasn't covered in it. He's 37 years old. It's like, oh, he's getting old. He's a problem. Now he's not scoring goals. We talked about this at the time. It was like he used to be an arsehole his entire career, but because he scored goals, like, well, I guess he could do what he wants. As soon as he didn't do that, people were like, okay, get him out. Finally, we have an excuse.
That guy is fucking toxic.
So yeah, like they played the other 2 games and wasn't as effective, and I thought maybe we could, try something new, which again isn't against the law to drop Ronaldo, but that was the story of episode 4 then, was just Ronaldo being dropped for the last 16 game.
Yeah, it was when Ramos comes on instead of him and immediately scores a hat-trick. And then it's the Portugal fans are now the same way the Man United fans were a short month earlier of, we're better without him, actually. I thought that was the case, but now I know for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate for Ronaldo, I guess, that, you get dropped and then the guy comes in and scores a hat-trick in a knockout game.
He's fuming as well.
Yeah.
After the game. When Ronaldo's walking off and he's like shaking hands with Ramos, and you can just see on his face, he is a man who knows fuck. I really didn't need that for my career. And it's funny because he has a quote then where he's like, a few minutes later, where he says like, it's all about winning. If the team wins and I don't score, I don't care. That's all that matters. Very clearly not the case.
It's been proven not to be true throughout the years, But anyways, you have to say these things. And every time that there was, I think when that game, like what, 6-1? Like Rafa Leao scored a goal.
Something like that, yeah.
He knows the camera's cutting to him. So he's doing the Aaron Ramsdale, clapping above his head, like, look, I'm happy, everyone, because I have to do this or else people say I'm a bad person, So he knows, like, he has to say these things, he has to do these things. But yeah, it was the worst possible outcome for him. And then, of course, it goes to the next game, and he's still on the bench because it's like, well, why would you change your winning team? Even though the manager says, you don't have to not change your winning team. I won't, but you don't have to. And then, Ronaldo's dropped again, and he comes on, and he has that one chance where he kicks and it's saved, because it's like, you come on with 30 minutes to go in a tight game, you might only get one chance. So it's like, again, if that goes in, and it's different, but it didn't go in. And then he walks off after they lost to a poetic Peter's summing up
soliloquy
of the events, and it's like, that's checkmate, Ronaldo.
Ronaldo then says, if I were to retire today, would I be happy with my career?
Cuts all his winnings, He said that at the start of the tournament. They were just replaying that at the start. So before the tournament started, he's like, would I be happy if I ended the career? And then like they replayed again, he's walking off, shows him in the Champions League and all the goals. Yeah. I was like, of course. It just feels different when he's walking up. It's like, oh, he never meant that.
Yeah. And then similarly, the next game then is Brazil versus Croatia. And it cuts to Thiago Silva's wife.
Yeah.
Who's crying, literally crying, giving the interview saying, she doesn't know how she'll feel or how he'll feel if he has to retire without a World Cup, which is a lot of pressure coming into this game.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, every player since 2002 to 2022 has played for Brazil, not won a World Cup. So, I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of players who finish out World Cups. And I don't know where Thiago Silva ranks in terms of Brazilian greats, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's under that kind of pressure, but maybe it's a pressure that every Brazil player feels. I don't know. But I thought it was lost,
it does come up. So it goes into the game then, and there's a bit, it shows how they concede, where Thiago Silva is describing this. He said, Fred went for a tackle and he lost the ball, and I thought, this surprised me. And I thought, did it? Because I used to see it every fucking week at United. I saw this exact goal.
It was funny because it just, I just described it, and it cuts to Fred like sliding his arse towards the corner flag. Like, what is he doing up there? Dive in for a tackle. Maybe that's a surprise. I was like, wow, I wouldn't have done that, Fred. Oh, they're coming at us really quickly.
It's literally like, Fred, why are you on the left wing?
Fred, you're surprising me right now with your actions. It all happened so fast.
That's in the 117th minute of the game also.
Yeah. Again, that was just like, they knew what to do on the break. Like, that wasn't like, okay, we'll corral Fred into the top corner. It wasn't like, obviously, everything was planned out. But like, when it happened, it didn't matter who it was. They're like, okay, we know what to do. We know where to run. We know where to pass.
Bish, bash, we're there.
They've done that 100 times in training. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is where we see the footage of Modric talking to Livakovic, hyping him up. But it's mad seeing they've done it again. Croatia have gotten to a penalty shootout in the World Cup again.
Yeah.
And you can hear, like, it shows, you hear a clip of a journalist talk about it, of a commentator talk about it. He's like, I know they're playing Brazil, but you have to think Croatia are feeling quite confident coming into this penalty shootout. Because you can see it on the Brazilian players' faces. They are stressed out, and Croatia are like, do this every week.
Yeah. Well, they'd obviously just come through a penalty shootout, which I think does make it a bit easier when you've come through one.
Yeah.
Because the pressure's off a bit, whereas Brazil are always under this pressure of like, you have to win the World Cup or anything less is a failure. And it's like, penalty shootout, the last place you want to be. I mean, I know we talked about before, we skimmed over there, I guess, the Neymar, that was his moment of the World Cup. Probably his best moment in the World Cup, I would say. And then for it to be kind of just taken away with, well, you lost anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. I honestly had kind of forgotten that goal happened, but it was a crazy individual goal from Neymar.
And it's funny as well, because I'd forgotten that, and I'd forgotten that he was going to take the 5th penalty for Brazil, but they missed 3, so he never got to take one. So all the criticism was like, oh, he should have gone first. Like, what a coward, going for the most stressful penalty, as confirmed by the Spanish players.
Well, it wasn't even like a coward. It was like, what an egomaniac. He has to get the winner.
Yeah.
Like, Ronaldo's done that before as well, I'm pretty sure, hasn't he? Where he wants to take the 5th one. Or that one were in the Champions League final where that was in game or whatever. But I mean, and then they asked Thiago Silva about it. I was like, look, it's the order of penalty would have been better. It's like, we have good players. We take good penalties. Is he our best penalty taker? Yes, he is. Did he want to go 5th? Yeah, I guess he did,
There's another good bit as well where it cuts to Marquinhos taking his penalty. And Silva very calmly is like, Marquinhos never misses a penalty. Every penalty, exact same spot. Cuts to him hitting the post, and then like cuts back to Thiago Silva just shaking his head. Everyone let him down.
Yeah, I mean, the funny about Marquinhos, this is the kind of thing about documentaries and the information that's out there for people, is that like, that goal didn't know that. He went the wrong way. But like, now if you're like playing in the French league and Marquinhos take the penalty, you're like, I know which way he's going. Bottom right, baby. Down to the post, A very stable penalty if you know the right way to go. But Marquinhos, Rodrigo missed the first one, then Marquinhos missed. So Neymar never got the chance to take it. But I guess it would be the perfect thing for Neymar if he had scored the goal at the start of the game and then got the winning penalty. But in hindsight, if he'd taken the first one, then Rodrigo missed and Marquinhos missed, then someone else probably would have missed as well, So it wouldn't have made a difference either way, probably, because Brazil were not as good penalty takers as Croatia. They were more nervous, but it was just kind of all about. It wasn't really about Neymar. It was about Thiago Silva and how his quest to win the World Cup is now over, and he's never going to win it.
Yeah. Then it shows, I think, probably the best bit in the whole documentary. There's a clip of right after the game in the tunnel So everyone is gone. It's just Silva and his former Chelsea teammate Kovacic. And they're like talking very candidly about like how hard it is on their wives and stuff.
Mm.
And like, I wish the documentary was more of this, like seeing the players talk to each other like human beings, which you never see.
I saw that clip, and again, before we even started this, I was thinking you'd never see Harry Kane doing that.
No, never.
Because, like, okay, it was a normal enough conversation, and it was like a nice moment because they both played in Italy, so they both spoke Italian, even though they're playing in Chelsea. So they're teammates. It was nice. It was opposing teams. It was very kind of like, it was one of those things that used to be a photograph. Because again, most people would look at it and go, look, there's cameras here, we may actually tip on. But like, it was a very normal enough conversation, but like, there was cameras there recording the whole thing. So like, you're talking, but you know you're being recorded. It's like, okay, how candid is this?
Yeah. There is, Kovacic asks Silva, are you going to go to Brazil after this? And Silva's like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
I would have if we won, but now definitely not.
Yeah. It was a nice moment, but I guess that's the kind of stuff that is why England weren't in this very much, because they would never do that kind of shit, because, you know, that again, they'd be thrown back at you. You know, you go back to England, exactly. Oh God, no. What? I'm going to Dubai.
Sterling hates England.
Yeah. I'm going to Dubai, my friend. Yeah, I'm going to party it up. I've got like 2 weeks till the season starts.
But yeah, that bit and the Modric talking to the keeper, they're kind of similar. They're, I think, far and away the most interesting parts of the documentary.
Just amazing how they got that footage, you know, how they didn't tell them to fuck off here. I'm actually talking to my friend here. Can you just not do this? But yeah, that was the end of Brazil. So I guess anybody who thought Brazil were going to win the World Cup were disappointed after that episode.
So this is where you have not seen.
Yeah, this is where I had to actually turn off the communal TV and hope that you watch the rest of it.
I've got bad news, Carl. I did watch the rest of it, but this episode, easily the best one in the show.
Oh, okay.
The 2 games covered, Argentina versus Netherlands and France versus England.
Yeah. I remember the Argentina-Netherlands game. I was at my work Christmas party at the time. And I was at home and I was going to walk into town to go to it, but I was like watching the first half, like, oh, this is good. I don't want to go out of the work Christmas party.
But they're all very angry at each other.
Yeah. And then I ended up watching the rest of the game in the pub, which was a terrible decision. But I mean, I got to see all the good bits, but, you know, it wasn't the same.
Yeah. And I remember we watched the France-England game at my engagement party. So we were watching it with literally like 30 of our friends in a pub. It was, I remember when Harry Kane missed the second penalty. It was like Ireland had won the World Cup.
Yeah. Although I did feel a tinge of sadness for him, because like you don't want to see that, you know. That's your entire England career going up in smoke right there, you know.
Yeah.
I don't care what records you break, Harry. You know, that this is the moment that people are going to remember. The guy who can't miss penalties misses penalty. You know, it's bad.
So it cuts to it shows that famous press conference from a few years ago where the head of the English FA lays out the targets for the England national team.
Yeah.
Which is semi-finals in the 2020 Euros, win the World Cup in 2022. But I never had actually seen this before.
Neither did I.
He does it so arrogantly because he's like, things need to change around here, and this is what England has to do, and this is what England will do. And then he lays out the things. And like, pretty close, to be fair.
I mean,
but
they did better in the Euros. They got the final of the Euros.
Yeah, they got to the final of the Euros, and they were not far off. They were an amazing Mbappé performance away from getting to the next stage. What's next then? Oh yeah, it shows footage of, I think you've seen the clip before, of Foden and Grealish like standing at opposite ends of the pitch volleying the ball to each other.
Yeah.
It shows that, and it shows like that whole thing while lots of pundits are talking about like, this England team is unbelievable actually.
Yeah,
like it's mad that this is us. Cuts down to very funny. It shows like, you know, and this English team, it's not just on the pitch, it's off the pitch. You know, they're big characters as well. They do a lot. You know, Rashford, all the campaign against poverty in the UK. Jordan Henderson and his campaigns for human rights.
No way. They didn't mention
it shows
that.
Footage of him doing a campaign for the NHS. It mentions other campaigns he's doing.
That's hilarious. A little Qatar dig at Saudi Arabia. I love it.
It honestly, it turned your stomach seeing the Henderson clips now, just the way he's speaking, and
that's so
you know
funny.
what's coming like a year later.
6 months, wasn't it? It was the summer.
6 months later. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that's in the documentary. Oh, I want to watch that episode so bad now. Fucking hell.
It's amazing. So then it goes to the England-France game. France go a goal up in the first half.
Yes.
And it cuts to their halftime team talks. And France are up for it. Mbappé is G'ing everyone up. You know, he's saying, no one fucking drop their heads. This is our game. Then it cuts to the England halftime team talk. And it's, again, like earlier where Kane was like, oh, hopefully we'll go far. It's the same thing. Kane is giving a speech and a few other players are, but it's just not as believable as the French lads. Like, you can feel they don't think they can get back into this. Like,
yeah.
I think the last quote as they're going out to the game is someone's like, come on, lads, we can score.
Yes, hopefully we can.
So then it goes to what I thought was the penalty. I had forgotten. Kane scored a penalty in that game.
Yes.
To go 1-1. I'd totally forgotten that. And it builds up to this thing, you know, Kane versus Lloris. Two captains. I think it's the first time where they have the two captains who've played together.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the documentary talking about it. And he scores the penalty. Doesn't matter. It's a shot of Kane. He's like, I just kind of let everything out of my head. I pick where I'm shooting and I hit.
Yeah.
So he said, I picked the corner, hit in the corner. Then it goes
boring.
to the second penalty.
Something cool.
Then it goes to the second penalty and we don't see Kane again for a bit. And you know, in the last one, he said, I kind of let everything out of my head and, you know, pick a corner. Easy to do that when you're equalising. When you have to score to equalise again, he skies the penalty. He did not pick a spot. He just hit it as hard as he could and hoped for the best. And then the commentator's like, well, maybe the mental weight of, you know, is trying to score against a player who knows against you so much was too much.
Yeah.
He just did it 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is 2 penalties in one game. Because
exactly.
You immediately get into the rock, paper, scissors mentality of, well, if I go rock, he'll probably go paper, so I'll go scissors. Unless, of course, he knows I'm going to go scissors, then he's going to go rock, which in that case, I should go paper. And like this, I went left last time. Should I go left?
I'm just going to hit it as hard as I can.
Well, listen, eventually you just go rock. You go fucking rock. And he goes paper, like, fuck.
And then that's the end of that game. It shows, of course, the famous Mbappé laugh, where he just like gleefully laughing right at the camera. If you could, I'd say he would have pointed and laughed at Harry Kane, but he thought that's probably a step too far.
That was a crazy moment. It's one of those things where you think that's out of context, surely. But that was in the aftermath of the penalty. He was like, I can't believe he missed that. He skied it.
I would have fucking banged
Unbelievable. That's their best player. Look what he did. You know, it was just like absolute glee that someone else had fucked up. It was just real villain stuff, I have to say.
Yeah. It then cuts to an amazing bit of footage of the French team all celebrating in the dressing room after. Drinks are flying everywhere. They're covering the champs in beer and all sorts. And he's like, hey, I have to do a press conference. And then it shows them all singing the song Freed from Desire, but they don't know any of the words except Freed from Desire. So they're like, free from desire. La, 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 la. They just leave out half the chorus because they don't know it. They only know the different player versions.
Oh, of course. Is that like a dig at like at every English ground they play Freed from Desire? Is that what that is? Or that's just like,
must be.
I mean, why would they sing a song they don't know the words to?
It's very odd. So that's that game. Then it cuts to the big one, Netherlands versus Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
We get a Netherlands versus Argentina rivalry recap, which I didn't know was a thing. Apparently, they hate each other for years.
They certainly played each other a number of times.
Yeah.
You know, they had lots of clips of that.
It's lots of the Netherlands fans saying, anytime we play at Argentina, we're always the better team, but they always fucking find a way to beat us. And, you know, like they cheat and they kick us and they this and this.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Van Gaal's press conference before the game, which is what sets off a chain of events.
Yes.
That leads to Messi essentially winning the World Cup because it changes his mentality for the tournament, it seems like.
Like he didn't want to win the World Cup beforehand or win the last World Cup or win the World Cup before that. You know, like, I mean, like it again, this is the documentary stuff where you see this, you go, that's not true. Yeah. Like that's just not what happened. Like I remember it. I watched his whole career. That's not what happened.
So it shows clips of Van Gaal's press conference right before the game where he's asked, how are you going to stop Messi? And he says, Messi does not participate in the game when his opponents have the ball. It's not that difficult to stop Messi. Don't let him get the ball. We win the game. And then
that's true. That's like a fact. He just walks around when he's on the ball. That's like, that's just nothing wrong with that.
Then it shows, this is where I didn't know this. It shows different newspaper clippings of Van Gaal talking about Messi in other press conferences. And it's essentially like, it's not that difficult to stop him. he has no passion. He walks around the pitch. It's all of the stuff that the Argentina fans said in episode 2 about Messi.
Yes, exactly. It is. It's like it's not a yeah.
And then it goes to the real crux of the thing, which is in the early 2000s, Van Gaal refused to play Messi's idol Riquelme. Riquelme scored and he celebrated towards Van Gaal, cupping his ears. It says Van Gaal created a target for Messi and Argentina. It's essentially that I took that personal from the Michael Jordan documentary.
From the Koulibaly documentary, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Messi says he was out of order. He was disrespectful to the team. This is where I wrote, jury now like the noise of a fridge. Can't listen anymore. Messi scores. I think he scores a penalty. And then he does the Riquelme towards Van Gaal, which is, to have that foresight and thought to even think to do that is mental. Like, why the fuck does it matter what he did to Riquelme?
It was his idol, Will. He didn't respect that he was a good player. I mean, like, that's funny that, like, we talked about there, because I haven't seen this episode, but like that we always have better players, but Netherlands with their magical ways of like structure and tactics managed to beat us. It's like, yes, like that's how the game's gone. You can't just rely on individual brilliance. If you have like a system of 11 players working together, it outweighs the talent of one player like Riquelme, who doesn't do what the manager asks you to do.
Yeah. Speaking of tactics, Van Gaal, it's not working for them, so he subs on their captain, a man who says in an interview that I was the plan B and I hated that. Wout Weghorst comes on the field,
did you say
already on a yellow.
Did you say their captain?
Well, he's in the documentary. Was he their captain? That was what I was thinking.
No.
All of the sit-down interviews were captains.
Captains and Fabregas as well. A lot of Fabregas for some reason.
No, but he was in the black room. You know that room? The captain room.
Oh, well, I mean,
that was what made me think maybe he was captain. Well, I thought that would be mad if he was.
I'm assuming, maybe wrongly, but I'm assuming it was Van Dijk as captain.
That's what I thought. But did Van Dijk have to come off in that game? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just had Weghorst and couldn't get Van Dijk, so
I mean,
he got the black room treatment. It was very odd.
Weghorst had a big say on this game.
He did. He's already on a yellow from arguing with Argentina players in the first half. He's shouting at Messi from the side in the first half. And it comes back to haunt him later.
Oh, yeah.
So here's where it starts kicking off. So Weghorst comes on. He scores a header from a corner. Argentina go to take tip then. They take tip, pass the ball to Messi. Weghorst flattens Messi with essentially an elbow to the chest as fast as he can. Probably should have been sent off, but this game, for some reason, they just let the cards fly. They didn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which is then followed up with clips of all the tackles flying in. And then the big one, Paredes cleans out someone with a tackle and then gets up and immediately boots the ball at the Dutch bench.
Yeah, Nathan Ake gets cleaned out and then he just like, fuck it, have from this bench and then just lashes them all the bench.
And it's chaos then. This is amazing. The way they film the like tussle here, it's literally like watching a Royal Rumble. Like the camera's shaking, there's hands and arms flying everywhere. It's mental as well. No one gets sent off because there's bodies flying all over the place from players getting like light touches in the head and dodging.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's so funny. Like 8 players go down.
It's like bad wrestling. It's like they're way overselling the contact.
Messi gets a yellow then.
Yeah.
Then the Dutch get a free kick, and that's where they pass it to Weghorst. They trick them, and Weghorst scores.
Yeah.
Weghorst in an interview says that was the best moment of his career because apparently he brought the free kick idea to Van Gaal before the tournament.
Yeah.
And they were like, in case of emergency, we'll do this.
But this is tactics. This is the backup plan. This isn't like, let's just hope that fucking, you might watch your man's name, fucking terrible Man United player. You watch his man.
Which one?
The striker.
Weghorst.
No, the other one. The
Holland.
No, the Dutch player.
Oh,
Depay. Like, you're rather than just like, let's go out there, Depay up front. He can do it. He's done before, and then you hope, and then it just falls flat in his face. Like, yeah, you can have an idea of like, okay, if Weghorst comes on, what can he do? Is there a thing we can, like, it's a set piece game. Will we win frees? Of course we will. Like, this is the kind of stuff that wins games nowadays, But I mean, these are just dirty tricks from the Dutch as usual.
It then goes to penalties, and again, tussles all over the pitch. Like, while they're trying to get the players in the lines for the penalties, there's shoving and pushing and arguing going on everywhere.
Yeah.
Messi scores the penalty. Then it kicks into the first Martinez masterclass in penalty shithousing, which they brought in rules to ban after this tournament.
Yeah.
Because he's outrageous. He's kicking the ball away. He's screaming in players' ears. He's dancing every time he saves it. And all of the Argentina players are like, the Dutch are just getting manhandled off the pitch during this penalty shootout.
Yeah.
It's all over then. Argentina win. There's that famous shot where
they're celebrating the Dutch fans.
Yeah, they all scream at the Dutch players as they're running away. Messi, after the game was over, storms straight over to Edgar Davids and Van Gaal to let him know that, hey, what you did to Riquelme was wrong.
This one for Juan Riquelme. Juan Riquelme.
Who are you talking about?
This is for Juan Riquelme. You hear me?
Then there's an amazing shot, which I've never seen. Cuts to the tunnel, and Messi is walking down the tunnel, and Weghorst puts his hand out to shake Messi's hand, and Messi blanks him, keeps walking, and Weghorst is like, oh, okay then, I thought we were going to leave it all on the pitch, I guess not. And that's when Messi turns around and he calls him a fucking bozo.
Hey bozo.
And it's so funny because it's Messi like shouting down the tunnel, swearing, it's all bleeped, and it's just like cuts to Weghorst like standing there like, okay, I was not expecting this from Messi, I have to say. He's just like staring at him in disbelief that this is happening. It then shows Messi doing the press conference and talking about Weghorst like he's disrespectful, you know, he was at us all game, he was at us before the game. And then it cuts back to Weghorst down the tunnel watching on that press conference quietly like, all right, mate, calm down.
Probably his idol at some point, you know.
Yeah.
That's probably be a crushing moment. Never meet your heroes, kids. My favorite bit from that, when he's called him a bozo, is the Argentinian interviewer being like, tranquilo.
Yeah.
Stop. All right, relax.
This is unbecoming of you, Messi.
This might be a moment. Calm down.
Yeah. Then, like we said, where they tried to squeeze things in for time constraints, we then quickly fly through the France versus Morocco semi-final and the Croatia-Argentina semi-final. Mbappé being a leader before the game, no stupid fouls. Remember last time we almost lost.
Keep it tight, all this kind of stuff, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. There's not much. They basically just show these games. There's not much setup or any other stories going on. They're like, all right, let's get through these, get to the final. That's where it really is.
Well, that's it. I mean, you're not going to get a big a story as the Argentina-Netherlands game. Like, you can't force a story as big as that with all the different moving parts and all that. I mean, did Gakpo feature in that? The Dutch didn't feature. Their group stage was like immense. You know, they were.
Yeah.
Gakpo was like the player of the tournament. He was like scoring all these goals.
Got moved to Liverpool after.
Yeah, he was going to go to Man United, then went to Liverpool. It was like, you know, did he feature all in this documentary? I don't remember.
Not a second, yeah.
It's again, it's the kind of thing where like, that's what I remember from the tournament. Whereas, you know, a documentary can just give alternative facts to what actually happened. You know.
Yeah. So that episode ends with there's this like Argentinian journalist who's interviewed a bit during it, and it shows her interviewing Messi after that game, after the semi-final.
Yeah.
And she says to him, it's a very nice moment where she stops Messi, and it's almost like for a second she like really gets through to him. It's like, this isn't just like a media interview. She says, I just want to let you know, regardless if we win or not, you have touched the hearts of every Argentinian. What you've done for this country is more important than ever winning a trophy. We love you. And Messi is like very touched by it. You can tell he's like, wow, thank you.
Because I remember,
it's very nice.
I remember at the time. Do you remember I know that, like, again, only like a year ago. I remember that interview at the time, and it was all kind of, you know, big news and stuff. And then when I was watching this documentary, I saw this woman, and I was like, is she famous? Should I know who she is? You know, that's obviously why she was in it from the start.
Yeah,
because she was.
They build up her, and it shows her at every game.
Yes, it does.
In Argentina, and she's like crying in the stands during games and stuff.
I remember seeing, I was like, why is she? What, like that's you know, this is a character who's going to be important later in the movie. You know,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That
There's
makes sense.
another character as well who comes in soon. The French journalist who. He comes in during the World. They interview him, and he gives his thoughts and stuff.
Yeah,
but it basically there's a camera on him for the whole final, and there's some amazing moments. So then the last episode is
the final.
It's the final.
That was a great day, wasn't it? The final.
Oh, stop! The best game, the best football experience I've ever had in a pub was watching that game.
And honestly, it's on a high bar because most games you watch at the pub are just terrible. You know, dire experiences.
This was movie stuff.
That was the best. I mean, the second best was probably, I think, Euro 2012. I think we were just finished the Leaving Cert, and we were watching. And we had shoes off for James McLean in in the pub.
Yeah.
Maybe we lost that game like 3 or 4-0, but it was a great day. You know, we kind of just discovered alcohol as well, so it was just fantastic, you know. But
the glory days, yeah.
this really puts this in the rearview mirror, this experience, this World Cup experience. It was Christmas, you know, and the World Cup was on.
It was Christmas. Everyone wanted Messi to win the World Cup. A lot of people at the time didn't like Mbappé because it was the whole... Remember, he was like in charge of PSG and he kept fucking off Real Madrid.
Yeah, you think he still is on that bullshit, but yeah, he was definitely at the peak. It was like, this guy's a bit of a dick, isn't he?
Yeah. So the game, as they're coming out, it has like them walking down the tunnel, more jury, the famous jury stuff, you know, from the ones that probably got him the job at Sky.
Yeah, it's because it's recency bias, you know.
Exactly.
That was World Cup final for him too, you know.
And then it hard cuts to the Falklands War.
Yes, of course. Who could forget?
Yeah, and it shows like footage from the war, some graphic footage from the war. And then it cuts again to that journalist we were just talking about. And she's talking about how when Maradona, when England played Argentina in 1986, so a few years after the Falklands War, Maradona gave a speech before the game to the team, basically talking about the war for like an hour.
Yeah.
And that was the game where he scored the Hand of God goal. And then it shows the political situation in Argentina, there's poverty, cost of living crisis, and they're like, football is our only escape. And Messi is like, you know, he's the guy who's, as long as Messi is playing, everything is okay in Argentina. Like,
yeah.
Then it cuts back to the game. They do an unbelievable job of showing the game in a video package, like music video-fied. Messi scores the penalty, and then it cuts to the French journalist that I mentioned. And there's an Argentinian journalist beside him who's like standing up out of his chair and he's pumping his arms. He's like, go on. And the French journalist like taps him on the arm and he's like, please, mate, calm down. Like a bit of fucking respect. Like,
yeah,
you know,
fair enough, honestly. You're a journalist. You want to be a supporter. You're meant to be a journalist.
Now, then it cuts to Deschamps being interviewed where he explains how a clap sync works, funnily enough. He says, we don't do the board anymore. We clap now.
Nice.
And then it cuts to the halftime team talk, and it's Deschamps. You know, it shows like the last World Cup and his stint so far, and it cuts to Mbappe's speech at the halftime.
Yeah,
he said, "This is an easy fucking final for them. We can't do worse than what we just did." He seems again like the only player who actually believes this, though. Like everyone's head is down. There's lots of sighing going on.
Well, that halftime was desperate for them. They were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
They were playing so badly. Griezmann was did not have a good
Giroud
game.
was hooked. Remember, like at halftime or just before halftime.
Giroud and Griezmann were both hooked. Yeah.
Remember, apparently half the team had like the flu or food poisoning.
There's some weird thing going around. Yeah. Of course not, Will, because that's not important. That's not.
If they had won, that had come up.
This is the thing. Like things that happen don't really need to have happened in a documentary.
Yeah.
Do your own research, folks.
And then it shows, so it's funny because it shows Mbappe doing that speech at halftime.
Yeah.
And then obviously this is the Mbappe half where he just plays out, he drags them back into the game.
Yeah.
And they film this again, like the coolest music video I've ever seen. It's like watching it's like a Nike ad where he's just like swinging by players and he's flying past the camera and he's banging in goals and all this. And yeah, it seems like this guy is just unbelievable. It's going to happen for them. When France get a penalty to take it, this is a shot I've never seen. As Mbappe, this is a real insight into his mindset and how locked in he is. As he's putting the ball down on the spot to take the penalty, when his head is down, he's bent down, Martinez walks up and what I can only describe is thrusts at his head. Like his head is at dick height when he does it.
Yeah.
And Mbappe, instead of freaking out and getting sent off, laughs it off. And then he steps back and then he fucking rifles the penalty in, picks up the ball, goes back to the spot. It's like as soon as the penalty happened, or as soon as he had it, he knew, bang, we're back in the. That's a goal, easy.
Yeah,
it's mental. His mindset is crazy to see. Like,
imagine being like a Dutch football fan or a French football fan watching Martinez being crowned the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah,
and if you also simultaneously watch the Premier League, like this is really annoying. I hate this.
Then there's 10 minutes to go in the game. Mbappe has scored. He's scored the penalty. He scored the penalty.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to his second goal, which was like the sliding volley, which is insane.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about it. Again, the music video goes on. There's then it goes into extra time, some commentary from jury. there's a great shot of the camera like pans from Mbappé to Messi as they're looking at each other, and they both shake their heads at each other like, this is ridiculous that this game is still going on and that we're still here.
Yeah.
Then this is probably the best moment of the documentary. This is where they're like, okay, let's really ramp up the Messi is the best of all time stuff.
Yeah.
The music stops. It cuts to an interview with Messi, the Black Room interview. And he says, in real life, Lionel, what are you good at? And he's like, I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but apart from football, what do you like? What are you good at? And Messi is like laughing. He's so shy. He says, I don't really know what I'm good at. And then it cuts to footage of a child Messi, so like 6 or 7-year-old Messi, dribbling by other children, exactly the way he dribbles now. And it like hard cuts from him as a child dribbling to him dribbling the exact same motion in the World Cup final, back to him doing something as a child, back to the World Cup final. It's mental to see. It was also very funny to think, imagine like just you're a 7-year-old and you're playing Messi and he's seemingly as good then as he is now. Like he would rip you apart. I'd say he scored 100 goals a game.
I think that was literally a Nike ad before where they did Ronaldinho as a kid playing futsal versus.
I think so. Yeah,
they
it seemed
caught in
familiar.
and out. Yeah, it's a thing they've done before, but
yeah.
I mean, it's a tough thing to ask Messi. I know you've been doing this your entire life and you've been under pressure since you're 16, but do you do anything else? Like, do you like card tricks or anything, or are you just like a boring like generational?
To play guitar, Lionel.
Yeah, a bit of an unfair question to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, then he scores the goal. They go 3-2 up. Cuts to pandemonium in Argentina. More music video, more game, blah, blah, blah. Then the penalty from Mbappé. Another unbelievably cool, calm, collected. So it goes then to the penalty shootout. They mention briefly Mbappé missing the penalty in the Euros against Denmark that got them eliminated. But then it cuts to this one. He just hammers this one home. Absolutely cool as like again. Then it pretty much just shows the penalty shootout with like a bit of music, but there's not much else. Then cuts to the win, and again, it feels like they run out of time because it shows Argentina fans celebrating, fans with tears in their eyes. There's a great shot of an Argentinian fan with tears in his eyes, crying, and he's copying Martinez's like shoulder shimmy dance, but he's doing it with like a really sad face. So much.
That's good.
Montiel scores the winning penalty, a player who I'm shocked didn't end up in the Premier League.
Montiel would go on to do, Will?
Who does he play for now?
He would go on to take 2 penalties, infamously, in the Europa League final. Because one was...
the disallowed one, yes.
He's missed that one. Oh, actually, the goalkeeper was lying there. Take it again. Oh, sorry, Marino, I guess you lost. So he plays for Sevilla now.
Of course.
In the Europa League final every year. That's where he plays.
Yeah. There's more music video of celebrations, and then the last quote of the documentary is Messi says, "My dream when I started playing football was to win something with Argentina, and it just so happened I won it all." And that's
nice.
I would say if you've watched the World Cup, you probably don't need to watch the documentary.
Yeah, there's bits I'd kind of forgotten. There's some small bits I'd kind of forgotten, but yeah, if this was like a year before the next World Cup.
Yeah.
If it was 6 months before the next World Cup, I think would have been a nice little nostalgic moment. Because all those players, like say Messi, I don't know if he'll be back, he might be back, but assuming he won't be back, assuming Ronaldo won't be back, Neymar, Thiago Silva, Modric, like basically all the captains almost.
Yeah.
None of them will be back again. So if you're watching that in 3 years' time, you go, oh yeah, I remember him. I remember how good Modric was. Like you'd see all those faces. Busquets, another one, like he won't be there. Like all those players are kind of retired. So that might be kind of like, wow, this really is a new era, a new age. It would set that up if that's the kind of narrative you're trying to push. But having watched the thing a year ago,
they're all still playing.
They're all still playing for their clubs. It's not very nostalgic. And again, it's just the stuff they gloss over, the half truths, the outright lies, Raquel and all that. I don't know. It just like it seemed a bit kind of forced sometimes, but honestly, I think it was in one way too long with 6 episodes, but then also, it felt rushed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the worst combination.
It could have been a really detailed 10 episodes, and it probably would have been better rather than like they kind of did a bit of both. Like I said, they barely mentioned the semi-finals. That's like 10 minutes of the documentary. Whereas there's fucking 20 minutes dedicated to Wales' first group game.
Yeah, like, why is that important? I mean, I guess they qualified for it, but for the first time in a while, and they probably won't qualify. Bale, another one, won't be around again. It's just, there's a lot of those kind of this is last chance for people narratives going on.
But now it feels like because those players are still playing, you might see a few of them at the next World Cup. Like, they might not be captains or they might not play every game, but like fucking Silva might be on the bench. You might stick it out a few more years.
To be 42? I
don't think it matters as much anymore, though, because like all those captains are so much older than they used to be, I think.
Yeah. Should we quickly Google search if Thiago Silva has retired from Brazil? Will? Before we publish this?
While Silva's exclusion from the Brazil setup during 2023 pointed to the defender potentially having retired from international football, speaking to The Guardian, the centre-back confirmed that's not the case.
Well, he hasn't retired, he just stopped being picked, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a difference, but it's the same.
To be fair, he seemed like a man who needed a break from it all.
Yeah, look, he's got a big job ahead of him at Chelsea, just finish top 10.
Yeah, overall, I'd say it had the potential to be very good if they did more of the behind the scenes stuff and like the actual conversations. But they're so far few in between all of the music videos of the games that you watched fucking a year ago. I don't know if it's worth the commitment to watch the 6 episodes.
I feel it's like you can follow one team for a tournament and you can create a nice little narrative and tie up a nice little. But when there's so many different teams and so much going on, you have to leave stuff out. You have to add little things in.
There's so much about the USA, and then all of a sudden they're just never mentioned again. You never hear about what happened to them.
Yeah, just like they don't tie up those storylines at all. It's like, and I guess they probably lost the game, but no time for that. We have a big game for Morocco coming up. It's just, but that's how the World Cup was too. Like there's teams that just like got knocked out, and that was it. There was no story. There was no like scandal. It was just that was it. So I guess the World Cup was true to the documentary was true to that way, but. Yeah, it was interesting the way they did it with the captain's kind of perspective on it. But sometimes it was like, okay, we're like, interview Neymar here.
Yeah, I want to know what he thought, yeah. Again, if you're doing it for Weghorst.
Yeah.
The little boy from Rosario, Argentina, on behalf of every little boy wearing his shirt. Messi potentially to crown his stellar career. Lionel Messi, no. No, it's got away. World Cup 22. And the earth trembles to its core.